Good morning. I am so excited to be here with you today. I'm Samantha and I own Not Now Therapeutics, and I help people who suffer from chronic pain. So I'm here this morning to chat with you about posture and how posture can be affecting symptoms of sciatica. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. I hope you're all having a fantastic self-care Sunday. It is pouring rain where I am right now because we're getting hit by a tropical storm. So I hope that I keep power. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go here. Perfect. Yay! Posture matters. And this is about how your posture and repetitive movement patterns can affect your body. So again, I'm Samantha. I own Not Now Therapeutics, and I'm excited to be here with you this morning. So we have to take care of our bodies. And I know that this seems like a really silly thing, but when I say it's the only place that we have to live, it's totally true. So, you probably don't live in your family home that you grew up in with your parents anymore. We can change houses, we can move apartments, we can trade out our cars, but unfortunately, we cannot just trade in our body for a new body. So we have to take care of the body that we are inside of, because this is where we live literally every second of every day. And I guarantee you that most of you don't want to live in this house. And I really feel like this is an incredible analogy, because as you can see, the foundation of this house is crumbling. Nobody has maintained this house. And if you start thinking about your body as your home that you live inside of, and think about the maintenance that you do in your home on a daily basis, like you probably don't let your dishes pile up for 2 weeks. So why would you not exercise or take care of your body for 2 weeks, right? Does this make sense what I'm saying to you? So most people would probably want to live in this house compared to the other one. Not only is this one a little bit newer, but it's well maintained. The people who own this house take care of it. Clearly they're mowing the lawn, the roof isn't caving in, right? The foundation has been taken care of. So let's try to treat our bodies better than we treat our home, right? Or at least the same. So when we talk about chronic pain, and this is something that people don't really know, but unless you've been in like some sort of physically traumatic event, like a car accident or like any type of like work related accident, things like that, most people experience chronic pain because of the things that they are doing repetitively. So when I say that, chronic pain actually occurs in muscles that are stretched out and weakened over time. So if you think about that, like most people hurt in the back of their neck because they're looking down, or we hurt in our back, like back pain is the number one cause, is like the number one, ailment of people in America because we sit, and then your back is super stretched out and your hip flexors are tight. So the problems often occur in muscles that are stretched out and weakened over time. And if you want to experience change in your body, then you actually have to be the person who changes. Hoping and praying and dreaming and wishing doesn't do anything if there's not action behind that. So as I just told you, if you were looking down at your phone, like this person, see how her back and her neck is all stretched out and weakened, you are going to ache here. And it's just, these are facts. This is not my opinion. And it's key for neck posture. As you can see, this person's ear is lined up with her shoulders and hips. And what happens is that head starts to migrate forward. You can see the hump, and that's from inflammation and body changes. And this can be reversed. You are not bound to this. It's not hereditary. It's something that you're doing. So if your kids are looking like this on their computer, they're going to look like this man later on. And I know that sometimes it's hard to think that like what we do affects our body, but it totally does, because you're really, most people are not aware of how they sit, how they stand, and just what they're doing on a regular basis and how it's affecting them. Your computer posture. First of all, this is a big no-no right here, this cross-legged thing that we're going to talk about. You see how she's all hunched forward, looking forward at her computer? There are things that you can do to change. So you can use your chair, sit upright, not cross your legs, and angle your computer screen so you can see it. So you're not hunched forward all of the time. The sitting posture. This is for the ladies out there in the group, and some men too, but mostly my ladies who like to sit cross-legged like this. Sitting cross-legged is the worst possible thing that you can do for the health of your hips and low back. If you suffer from sciatica, this is the number one thing that you must stop immediately. And I will tell you, after 11 years of working in physical therapy and 23 years of being a massage therapist, if you do not stop this habituated posture, the likelihood of you feeling better in your body is quite slim, because you cannot go on continuing to do the things that are not good for your body. In this position, the muscles of the back and the hip are constantly stretched out and weakened, and they cannot do their job. This is not your anatomical position. This is not how your body is designed to be, especially for multiple hours a day. And when there is dysfunction in your body relays this to you literally by saying, ow. So what a lot of people will do is they just try to stop the ow, right? So we take painkillers, ibuprofen, maybe it'll get a little bit stronger. Maybe then we're moving to like, hydrocodone. Then we're having injections, then possible surgeries. But this has to stop, or you will never, ever, ever feel better. And I'm sorry, I hate to be the person who tells you this, but I'm just being honest and real with you, is that Band-Aids are just a Band-Aid. So when you sit cross-legged, this is what happens inside of your pelvis and hips, right? This is what happens. So this is a healthy spine, right? The plumb line goes down the middle, the pelvis is balanced. When you sit cross-legged, one leg comes up higher than the other. Your pelvis is imbalanced. Your legs will have a leg length discrepancy because of how they articulate with the pelvis. These muscles here get shortened and tightened. These muscles here get stretched out and weakened. And as this contracts on this side, your disc in your back gets squoze out this side, and you will get symptoms radiating sometimes down the opposite leg. So it's super duper duper important to stop doing this, because over time, you will chronically be shortened on this side and weakened on this side. You may walk with an antalgic gait or limp because your legs, one is clearly higher than the other one. And people will tell you you have a leg length discrepancy, put a lift in one shoe, something like that. But sometimes that's not the problem. Sometimes this is the problem. So really figuring out the source of the problem and fixing it is going to be key. These muscles inside of your leg are called your adductors. They get shortened and weakened. When that happens, this femur is a lever. This comes in, this gets pushed out. And then your femur head rotates in the acetabulum in a strange way, right? So it starts grinding the inside of that socket. And as it grinds the inside of the socket down, that forms osteophytes inside of the hip socket. And or another great word for that is arthritis. So arthritis is when your bones are articulating and it wears down the cartilage, and then your bone starts laying down more bone to protect itself. That is arthritis. It causes immobility. And so when they do surgery for this, like when they do a hip replacement, not only do they saw off this bone and put in a new component, but they go in here and they grind out all of the osteophytes that you've developed from sitting improperly and from this bone articulating improperly in the socket. So this is why I tell you. And as you can see, all of these ligaments here get stretched out and weakened, and then you have instability in the hips and the pelvis. These muscles, gluteus medius minimus, are the rotator cuff of the hip. They stabilize the head of the femur in that socket, as you can see. So as that leg draws in, this pushes out and stretches out these muscles. Their job is to stabilize the femur head in the socket. And when they cannot do their job, they say, ow, and they radiate a pain referral pattern. Get ready for this, party people. That goes to the buttock, the SI joint, and down the leg as though you have sciatica. So sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes, people who think that they have sciatica really have a stretched out gluteus medius and minimus and super tight adductors. And there's likely some other things going on in there with the psoas and quadratus lumborum. We're not going to talk about that. But this, if you don't address these muscles, then this is always going to be a problem for you. And I've seen this hundreds of times in clinical practice over the last 20 years. The other thing that I would love to talk to you about when you're sitting, because America is a sitting culture, we're sitting people, we love to sit, is that the action on your discs. So you have you have muscles here that attach to your bones. So if you are dumping your pelvis forward, what happens is the back of the disc gets squoze and that jelly donut will leak out the front, especially over time as the ligaments get weaker. If you are a person who sits with who has a very tight psoas, or this is squeezing down in the front, then your jelly donut of your disc is going to squeeze out the back and start compressing those nerve roots. People with a herniated disc. Shots and surgeries don't fix the problem if your posture and your muscles are still having these actions on your bones. Bones don't move around all willy-nilly by themselves. They have to have an action from the muscle placed upon them. So this stuff is super duper duper important for the health of your spine. This muscle I was talking about is psoas major. It is a deep hip flexor. Starts on T12, which is at your belly button level, and comes all the way down here and inserts into your femur. So when this is shortened and tightened, it pulls these bones together and causes your disc to bulge. So we have to lengthen this psoas. We have to reduce the tension on the low back. This muscle is the number one muscle associated with back pain. It's a secret. It sends that pain referral pattern to the back and into the quad. A lot of people who say, I just have a burning and aching in the front of my leg, that would tell me that your psoas is super tight and where it inserts is getting pulled because of the tension in the muscle. And so these are things that are absolutely fixable. These are things that are changeable, and you can fix this. I've seen it. I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. So when we sleep, you need to be, if you're a side sleeper, then you need a king size pillow. I use two, not at the same time, but I'll have one on the other side of me. So when I roll over in the middle of the night, I can just grab it. but a king size firm pillow that's between your legs to maintain pelvic neutrality. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck in the same position. And then when we stand, so many people just shift their weight to one side, like this lady. All of her weight is on this leg. You can even see that this side is contracted to like balance her out. Your pelvis should be symmetrical, not shifted to one side or the other. If you thought about it being full of water, you want to make sure that that water is not sloshing around or spilling out any direction, that you're not dumped forward, that you're not tucked backwards, that you're not dumping it out the side. And then I'm not even gonna get into the arms crossed across your chest. That just stretches out the muscles of your upper back and it causes problems. This is your anatomical position, actually, with your palms forward when you're standing. Palms forward, not the backs of your hands forward. I see that a million times a day where we're walking around like apes. So when you're walking, you need to have your thumbs forward. It'll automatically open up that chest. Just utilizing good posture as often as possible will really, really like save your physical body. So here's this guy. Here's his great posture with his ears, shoulders, hips, and ankles in alignment. Look at this, what happens when the backs of the hands are forward. It automatically draws the shoulders forward and that neck comes forward. Again, we see that sway back, this is called kyphosis, when you have a lot of roundedness up at the top of your back. I see a lot of ladies walking around in heels who have this sway back. Clearly here, like we looked at earlier, that jelly donut is going to be pushing out the front and he's dumping all of the contents out of his pelvis. And then here he's got a sway back, just pushing that pelvis forward. We really want to look more like this with our posture. And then I see this an awful lot. So when people are walking, super important that your thumbs are facing forward, your eyes are forward, your pelvis is neutral. But instead of falling forward and just putting one foot in front of the other, like I see that in Florida a lot, where people like they don't want to look at each other or something, so they look down or they're looking at their phone and they're literally just falling forward, putting one foot in front of the other. And I'm going to encourage you to use your glutes, like your butt is pushing you forward in space, and see how that changes, like that you're really using your extensors and not just shuffling forward, because if you didn't put one foot in front of you, you would fall. That you're really having an active posture and walking correctly, using your extensors and using your glutes. Because the easiest way for me to tell that you're not using your glutes is that you have no butt, right? And in physical therapy, we lovingly refer to this as no acetol disease. And then I'm just going to briefly chat about nutrition for a moment. But if you want to achieve amazing and life-changing results, you have to look at the quality of the food and the fuel that you're using to put in your body, because what you are putting in becomes who you are. It is creating your cells. It is creating your muscle. And all the self-care in the world, going to the gym 7 times a week, will not do anything for you if you are eating McDonald's 3 meals a day and drinking nothing but soda. We have to have adequate nutrition, hydration, a balanced diet, getting away from things that create inflammation in our bodies, such as packaged foods. A lot of these like energy bars and things like that is like trying to get closer to things that are natural, that your body can break down efficiently and use for fuel, is going to be important if you want to decrease the overall inflammation in your body. And this is also a very personal journey. I am not a dietitian by any stretch of the imagination. There's plenty of people in this group who can chat with you about foods and creating a healthy and balanced diet. But It is super important because your entire body is an ecosystem, and one thing is not separate from the other. What you're consuming is not separate from your hip pain, is not separate from your posture, is not, it all works together to create the beautiful you that you are. And like I tell my clients, you cannot be upset for the results that you don't get for the work that you don't do, which means, as you all know, you have to do the work. It's just like if I wanted to lose weight, I would have to change things about myself, right? I might have to change my diet. I might have to change some things. I certainly couldn't sit around and eat chocolate cake and cookies and watch Jerry Springer all day long and expect that weight to magically melt off. And I feel like sometimes in our society, when we talk about pain, we expect that because I got a shot or because I had surgery, that these things are going to miraculously fix themselves. But in most cases, you have to be the one who changes, and really understanding what's going on in your body is going to be key for that. So this is just a little statement about one of my clients who participates in my Wellness Wednesday classes and programs, and rolling and working on posture. Says this is seriously everything that she needed for her body and didn't know that she needed. And that it's the real deal. And that rolling and taking care of her body takes a proactive approach to your health while you still have it and before you're completely broken. And that is the truth. You have to understand that as you get older and as you age, these things catch up with you. They do. And I would love for you to have a vibrant existence. So thank you so much for watching this little presentation today. If you have any questions for me about posture things that you can do to help your body that's in chronic pain, feel free to reach out to me. I'm super approachable. You can contact me in my direct messages. You can also go to my website, notnowtherapeutics.com, if you would like to learn more about me and what I do. You can also schedule a free call with me where we can chat about your ailments and issues. And that's all I have to say. So I would love to thank y'all so much for your time and for your attention to my presentation today. And I want to remind you that anything that you do, even little things that are good for your body, ripple out into the rest of your life and helps other people in ways that you can't even imagine. And you are not bound to your experience. You can change. You can create the life that you want. You can create the life that you desire. Sometimes it starts with baby steps. So I'd love to thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much to Chris and Brittany for having me. And I hope that you have an amazing self-care Sunday.